I'm joined now by co-hosts Emily Compagno and Kayleigh McEnany, also Cheryl Casoni and Guy Benson. Well, as we watched that with the President of the United States and then with Senator Rick Scott, you had a lot to say on the fact that, wow, Scott's joining us right after. Wonder if the President mentions his name. And then like 6 or 7 times in, the President mentioned his name.
Yeah, so the approach here from President Biden and the Democrats broadly is to try to pretend that one bullet point in one plan put out by Senator Rick Scott, who's not even running in 2022, represents the entire Republican Party platform. And Senator Scott just now to you, like 30 seconds ago, said clearly his plan is not the agenda for the Republican Party, which is what, as you pointed out, Senator McConnell very importantly said. Republicans are not running on raising people's taxes. That's not what the Republican Party ever does. What struck me about the president today was he was listless. He was predictable. It was the same. I could have recited almost that entire speech almost verbatim off the top of my head. It's everything he's been saying now for weeks and weeks and weeks. Putin and pandemic, blame shifting to everyone else. This man's job approval rating on the economy in our latest Fox News poll is 25 points underwater. He's at 36% approval on the economy, using these talking points that he has not deviated from. Nothing new, no solutions. And the last thing I'd point out, Harris, is they want to talk about Republicans hypothetically raising taxes, which is not going to happen. Every single House Democrat, except for one up in Maine, all of them voted for Build Back Better, which actually raises taxes on millions of middle-class families while carving out tax loopholes for blue state millionaires. That's their actual voting record already. How's that for a talking point, Mr. President?
Yeah, but they still couldn't get it.
Right, they tried. They tried.
They still couldn't get it.
Joe Manchin saved them.
Maybe a little Kirsten Sinema thrown in as they chased her into the ladies' room. Sadly, that's not even a joke.
Well, he said that was part of the process, is what President Biden said about that.
Right, right.
Just
the dangerous part is part of the process.
Right.
So I came up with 3 Ps, Cheryl. I know that the president listed in the sort of the pandemic and Putin for the gas prices and what we're paying. But you, based on what you said, I came up with private entities, too.
Yeah, no, he went after the good old talking points of going after the beef industry and the chicken, of course, the poultry industry, which he's done before, greedy oil companies, the federal leases. All of that was disingenuous because those leases, there's so much red tape to develop those leases that it doesn't make sense financially for oil companies to do so. But what I love that Rick Scott just said is that he's lying about reducing the deficit. I agree. That's exactly the truth. I grabbed onto that because he's saying, look, we're reducing the deficit by $1.5 trillion. That's our way of dealing with inflation. Well, all of that spending came under the Trump administration during the pandemic to develop vaccines, to support healthcare workers, to the rescue plans for small businesses. All that, those programs, Harris, are ending. So when he says that he said it specifically, we are cutting the deficit, that's not true. Those programs are ending. If anything, they've made inflation worse by proposing more spending. But luckily, they've gotten pushback on a lot of their new spending proposals. He mentioned infrastructure, Build Back Better, but there's been enough pushback, luckily, in Washington that it hasn't happened.
So what does the president mean when he says to cover, the losses that we're all suffering with inflation, he wants everybody, the corporations, to pay their fair share? Like, that's like going to Vegas with your girlfriends and losing everything and making them pay for your losses. Like, I don't understand what he means.
Yeah, the corporate tax rate is 21% right now. But I want to make one big point here about, and
so
this
what
is
does he
something
want it to be?
Well, exactly. They want to raise it, but they're debating about how much they're going to do that. All right. I've heard 25% is kind of the average agreed upon negotiated corporate tax rate. Yeah, I'm trying to be fair here and say maybe that they'll not go that far. But look, really quick here, I was looking at tax data from 2018. Okay, if you look at the top 1% of income earners, anybody in this country that makes over $540,000, okay, they paid 40% of all federal income taxes. The top 10% paid 71%. That's 48% of income. That's a lot of numbers, I realize. But what I'm saying is it's disingenuous to say that corporations and wealthy individuals are not paying their fair share. It's just not true.
Kayleigh, the president used a term today. And you have the drill down on it. I want to know what an Ultra-MAGA is. And he uses it, he just tosses it around like these are people that we should know, or it's a concept we should know.
So it's from the movie The Incredible Hulk, the Ultra-MAGA. We all know that, Ultra-MAGA. No, I'm joking, but it sounds like that. However, this was the brilliant idea among Democrats. Apparently, they got in a room, they pulled the term, according to CNN. They liked the term. Anita Dunn was one of the people who came up with it. Chief of Staff Ron Klain tweeted out, Biden advisor Anita Dunn is rejoining the White House after helping outside allies devise a new campaign theme hitting MAGA Republicans. Democrats haven't had a coherent story about the GOP. We weren't looking for this particular message, but it found us. That aside, let me just say, welcome to the Twilight Zone, folks, because that's what we just watched on a fake White House set. That's what that was. You had a president totally aloof from the American people. It is the Twilight Zone when he says, enormous strides, strongest job creation, fastest decline in unemployment in history. We're on the mend. On the move. And it reminded me of his press conference, the only one he's given this year, where he touted a year of enormous progress. No one believes that. He's like the only one in America reading Ron Klain's Twitter feed. We have a slow scroll for this.
I know, we showed
Welcome
it.
to the Twilight Zone if you haven't put it up yet. Another strong jobs number, one hell of a graph. Jobs are up. They get better and better. He put out 19 tweets on Friday about this. Honestly, if you're not feeling happy after this jobs report, you're a professional grump. And then this was my favorite. Jobs report keeps saying the economy is in good shape. At some point, people will notice this too. We'll find out in November.
How do we change the locks on the White House so he can't get in for his Twitter?
We need to change the locks because he needs to get out of the West Wing, bro, Ron Klain, because it's a much different story around the rest of the country.
That's a T-shirt, right? Get out of the West Wing, bro.
Yeah.
Emily.
Yeah, this president is the gasoline to the dumpster fire that started under his watch. And as you pointed out, we heard the playbook that he constantly refers to, which is blaming everyone else but himself, starting with the MAGA Republicans, who, according to him, now control the Republican Party. Let's take a watch.
Never expected the ultra-MAGA Republicans who seem to control the Republican Party now to have been able to control the Republican Party. I never anticipated that happening.
Now, if that's lowering taxes, easing restrictions, increasing law and order, and increasing civil liberties, then count me in. But for some reason, to this president, it's everything that he counts as an enemy to what his party stands for, which is, in fact, the opposite, right? So we know, as you have been sharing with us this entire time, inflation coincided with his inauguration, not with Putin's invasion, right? It was gas prices were rising for nearly a year before the invasion began. And when you factor out gas and food, inflation was 6.5% year over year once this guy started. And then under his watch, we've had the Fed printing money. They rammed through that $1.9 trillion bill, which increased the deficit to almost $3 trillion. And now we had to hear him lie to us, getting Pinocchios already, saying that it was lowered. I mean, even a former Obama official said that it was a, quote, extraordinary policy mistake. He has exacerbated regulations and taxes. He has destroyed supply chains. He has passed the cost on to consumers. They've passed it on to us. And he has restricted fuel production. And, you know, he talked about today about increasing tax breaks for the poor. But what about inflation? No tax break will alleviate the inflation, the disproportionate impact that inflation has had on the poor. And as you pointed out, you know, this is a president who talks about, do you hear him? He said reasonable profits he wants to assign to companies. That's not a capitalist.
Well, that's not his job.
Not at all. So he tells you he's a capitalist, but believe me, when he talks about imposing his morality in the sense of fair share on an economic benefit from an economic capitalist structure, then believe me.
Can I add one thing really quick here, guys, before I know we got to run, but I find the timing of today very interesting. We're getting new consumer price index numbers tomorrow,
the CPI
okay?
comes out.
That's one day away, and it's expected to be at 8.1%. I have a feeling it's going to be much higher than that, which is a little bit better than the number before, the 8.5%. But we're at 40-year high inflation. He's doing this one day before we get these new inflation numbers tomorrow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't hear about those student loans today.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he was giving a lot of gifts away. You were talking just then, Emily, about, you know, tax breaks for the poor and so on. He had a lot of gifts away, but he's backed off that now. They're vacillating on that. It makes me wonder why that is, or if that's just a little nugget that's coming later.
Yeah. Well, we know Kamala really wants it, so there's some tiff there.
I would just say very quickly, the one line that jumped out at me from that entire speech, it was at the end during the Q&A. He was asked twice, do you take any responsibility? And he said, quote, our policies have helped, not hurt.
Yeah.
I think Republican ad makers are going to clip that one and save it.
Yeah, they will be playing it in November, no doubt.